Hey, Scott Walker coming to you from my store here in Anaheim, California. I'm here with Arian Jansen of SonoruS Audio. He makes the SonoruS ATR 10 Mark II reel-to-reel machine that we sell, and we love it. You know, Arian, one thing about the machine is we sell tons of high-end gear here. Speakers, turntable, servers. One thing about selling the reel-to-reel machine to a customer is they are absolutely thrilled and delighted for a long time. Not moment of the day or flavor of the day. I'll get a call or a text 6 months after a customer bought one saying, Scott, this is the most amazing XYZ I've ever heard. As a matter of fact, we recently sold a machine to one of the gentlemen out of our Texas store, if you remember. And he ordered, I don't know, 10 or 15 tapes from you. And we were there a couple weeks ago putting in some other equipment he bought from us. He told me, he goes, Scott, he goes, by far, this is the most enjoyable machine I've ever purchased, high-end audio. He said Pink Floyd The Wall is the most amazing recording he has, and he has the big $350,000 Wilsons, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
And that Jennifer Warren's was the best, like, visceral bass and just crazy clarity, etc. that he has in his system right now. You know, he probably has $700,000-800,000 audio system. So
okay,
he was very happy with that tape machine. So.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah,
I have to say, I do have a lot of happy customers, and also found out that I've never seen any of the ATR 10s that I sold in the wild in the second-hand market or so.
No, they're rare. They're rare.
The only I get a few back now because of people upgrading to the Mark II.
Sure.
But
so just for our knowledge and for the viewers out there, so we've sold the Mark I for the last 8 or 9 years probably.
Yes, I think so.
And now you have the Mark II out, which has been out about a year now. I think I sold the very first one last spring. Yeah. What is the primary difference between the ATR 10 Mark I, and that's the one that John Vallon reviewed in Absolute Sound?
Yes, but that was back, I think, in 2012 already.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
He reviewed it and said it was absolutely mind-bending, like amazing. What's the primary differences between the original ATR 10 and the new Mark II version?
Yeah, well, the main reason to go to the Mark II was more driven by need than anything else, and that was the reason that a lot of the components, because it's already, the Mark I is a 12-year-old design basically, or longer. The components were not available anymore, so I couldn't make them anymore. So I had to do something to kind of continue because the demand was still there. Yeah. So I decided to take the design, basically throw out everything that obviously couldn't get anymore, and also thrown out as many of the mechanical Studer parts that were not critical to the machine.
So the Studer stuff's super rare, super hard to get.
Yes, it's a lot of the stuff is difficult to get. The motors and the heads and everything, they are getting more difficult to get, but it's not a problem. Yeah. For the heads, actually, there is a company in Belgium who makes the heads
Actually, the guy approached me at a trade show and said to me, I know you sell a lot of tape decks. Here's my card. And he was from Europe. I think he was from Belgium, actually. Yeah. And all they sell is tape heads.
Yeah, it's AM Belgium, basically. And they just make tapes, the heads for the original Studer machines.
So, Arian, let me ask you a question. I go to customers' houses that have these crazy audio systems, right? Some of them have some of the old Studer machines with DBX noise reduction and Dolby noise reduction and all that. Why is it that your machine does not need any noise reduction? There is no noise at all on that tape. Why is that?
Well, it has to do with basically three things.
Yeah.
First, there is the source that you have to come from. Well, nowadays, a lot of the sources I use for my holographic imaging tapes are digital sources.
So hold on. Let me pause you right there, just for the audience out there, the viewers. Okay, so you're a recording engineer.
Yes.
And you're a mastering engineer.
Yeah.
And do you produce the records also? Or does Bob do the producing?
Yeah, the producing is basically, I do some producing for Yarloom.
Okay.
But yeah,
so you have an entire recording and mastering suite, right? Which, by the way, uses that machine, right?
Yeah.
But you also have a process that you use on your tapes that people buy from you, because you also sell tapes, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And by the way, just for the viewers out there, we only buy Arian's tapes. I do not buy tapes from anyone else. I buy SonoruS Audio tapes to playback on the ATR playback machine, because the performance is unbelievable. Let me give you a quick example. I had the tape machine at a trade show one time. And we were playing tapes, and people were blown away, as they always are. And a gal walks in and said, I bought this tape downstairs in the wherever, lobby, whatever. Can I play it back on the machine? I said, yeah, we can reel it up, but no guarantee as to what the quality is, to your point, as to the source and all the rest. We played it back, and frankly, not great sounding.
Yeah,
and a lot of my other guys have tape machines and tapes from all the various big tape outlets. Now, some are very good, but I have found that they, just like everything on CD quality or LPs or whatever, it's a bit of a crapshoot as to, you know, the quality of the output, like what it's going to actually sound like. But I know your tapes, you basically don't send me a tape that's not spectacular sounding.
Yes, one of the reasons for that is also that I do not want to have any of my tapes out there that do not sound fantastic. So
that's like Ferrari putting out a car that they know is not crazy high performance.
Yes, if somebody asks me for a certain title,
yeah,
and I don't think it's going to make a tape that I would be happy with,
yeah,
then I say I cannot do it.
Yeah, see,
I'm not going to sell it.
So on a nice thing, I mean, the tapes are a couple $100 each for sure, but Arian doesn't put one out. I beg him for tapes sometimes of music I love, and he will say, Scott, we'll make just an okay tape, you know, or yes, that will make a great tape. And actually, recently we've been quite surprised. I think that Nirvana Live, you were really surprised at. The Unplugged, Nirvana Unplugged. Made an amazing, amazing tape. If you're a Nirvana fan, you have Unplugged. The machine is worth buying just for that tape. If you're a Nirvana fan, it is unbelievable. So.
Yeah, there have been several albums because at this process that I use, this remastering process, I call the SonoruS holographic imaging.
Yes.
That has been, well, I've worked on it basically since the late 80s.
Yes.
So it has been an ongoing thing, and kind of grew up, if I can say it like that, in the early 2010s. I say, okay, this is basically what it is, and in 2018, the last definitive version basically is also the process we use for the Yarloom recordings live on stage. Basically, I lost my train of thought here.
The recording process.
Yeah, the recording process. I've been working on that basically, and it started off as mainly multi-channel sources, and later was what I call the SonoruS stereo revelation, just to give it.
So what I explain to people, and tell me how close or far off I am on this. When you play something back in stereo, right, 2-channel stereo, that is a process, and it's 2 speakers mixed to sound like one person singing in front of you. Is that correct?
Yes, it's actually, if you look at just a stereo setup, a normal conventional stereo setup with nothing special happening in front of it can basically properly place only 3 places, which is the right speaker, the left speaker, and dead center. Those 3 places, the reproduction is correct. Everything else is compromised because the information to project it there is not correctly there in the recording. And one of the issues you have with the standard stereo recording, and if you think about it a little bit, if you analyze it a little bit, if you're in a live recording or a live concert, you have, let's say, a jazz combo on stage there, and you are, as a listener, sitting here, and then there is some microphones, but there is no logical place, no logical comparison or so. You say, well, because somebody's playing there and the listener is sitting here with his 2 ears and there's microphones, there is no logical place for a speaker setup as we use it. But, and that's the reason why a lot of these stereo recordings fall flat, and they're not that exciting as they could be. However, the information of the music is caught during the recording. It's only not in the proper form.
So you have the information there, but it's not in the proper form to play back with the 360-degree sort of spatial, what we like, audiophile type of qualities.
Kind of the holographic sense of being there. Doesn't really fully materialize when you just play it back on 2 speakers, because there is no logical place for 2 speakers.
So that's where the SonoruS holographing imaging, SHI process steps in. You're able to, for lack of a better word, remaster, right? That outcome to properly place all that information, which was already there, back in the playback presentation, basically.
Exactly. I mean, it's a given that everybody listens with a speaker setup. Everybody's speaker setup is pretty much the same. Small differences, but it's pretty much the same. So knowing that everybody listens that way, the holographic imaging process basically takes the stereo information and surround information if it's available, and basically makes that that conversion to have it played back with, on speakers and give you exactly the same experience on your ears, because with holographic imaging processing, you know that how it was recorded and that kind of stuff, and you know how it's going to be played back. And again, nobody ever makes that link to say, okay, we have a weird playback setup.
Here's the difference also, from my opinion. You're not only a recording and mastering engineer, but you're an audiophile, and you know what sounds good. So when you create a tape or recording or what have you, you're able to really, really make it sound fantastic. And that's a difference. You hear other tapes, whatever. We were talking about The Wall the other day, and you said it was very dark sounding, you know. And you're able, as an audiophile and mastering engineer, to remaster that so that it's very pleasing on the ear and very enjoyable to listen to. So long as the information is captured on the original recording, you're able to recreate that in an absolutely amazing playback experience.
Yes, and also when I'm doing this remastering, I mean, some really well recorded records do not really need a lot of other adjustments. But indeed, a record like The Wall, which I think is the best album ever made, basically, recording-wise, there are some
compromises,
and some stuff to be desired. So, and that has been, and I've done that project already several years back. That took me a while to do, to get indeed this darkness that's in there. I mean, it's a dark album, but it doesn't mean it has to be darkly recorded. The
playback doesn't have to have, like, audio-wise, is not dark sounding. the content is dark, and this the whole thing about the wall was one thing, but the playback chain and the playback
and the recording, basically, that's there's so much going on in that album that it really is interesting to bring that out and place it back in the three-dimensional space where it's supposed to be, because there's a lot of stuff going on there. And later on, Roger Waters did a lot of that stuff himself also.
He did. And Q sound and some of this other phasey stuff.
Q sound he used. And he also did not do that dark stuff anymore. That's more kind of the Gilmour sound, this dark stuff. Because Gilmour worked with Tim de Parravicini, and Tim de Parravicini has this specific sound, basically. And Gilmour liked that a lot. Waters not so much.
Tim actually made a lot of the gear when they did some of their remastered discs, etc. They sound great. I don't remember if they were dark sounding, but and he's a high-end audio guy, you know.
Yeah, so. He is, and again, he worked with Pink Floyd extensively, with his equipment and everything. Not so much in the recording or so,
but on the playback chain.
On the recording as well. Yeah, there's a lot of Tim de Parravicini modified Studer machines that they used.
Yes, he did.
For the recording.
Yes, he did. I remember.
But again, Tim de Parravicini equipment has very much a signature to it. You can very much hear that. And it has, depending on what he did, some of them is quite dark, which again Gilmour liked, because he used that a lot in his albums, basically.
So it was a preference, a choice.
Yeah, it was a choice, but again, it's an equipment choice, not so much an artistic choice, I would say. At least in the wall, you can hear the equipment doing that, and not. I mean, the album, the music is already dark enough by itself, but there's so much going on that I wanted to bring that out. And again, get the size of some of the.
Now I've not heard that. You made that recording for one of my customers, and he was telling me about it. And you're going to make me a tape here pretty soon. For my store here. So getting away from the recording, let's talk about the machine itself just for a minute. So you have a new Mark II version of the ATR, which originally was put out 10 years or so ago, 10, 11 years ago. And I know Valen did a review on it in Absolute Sound and went gaga over it. So it's based on a Studer chassis, correct?
Yeah.
So is it which model is it based on?
It's based on the Revox PR99, which is Studer basically. Revox is Studer. And the interesting thing with Revox as a starting point is that a lot of them have been made. And the motors and chassis and everything is exactly the same quality as used in the large Studers. So it's not. It's a consumer machine, if you want to call it like that, even though the PR99 is the professional version of a consumer machine. But if you look at the mechanics inside, it uses exactly the same mechanical materials and motors and everything, and die-cast chassis as the big Studers do.
So the parts are out there and they're available. It's the reason you use it. Why recreate that wheel?
Exactly. And they not for nothing were the ultimate tape machine brand for recording and playback, basically. So that was the starting point back then.
So for what the viewers don't know or may know, I don't know, but SonoruS Audio is Arian's audio company, and he makes all kinds of different equipment. He makes preamps, amplifiers. You've made your own electrostatic speakers. You have a crazy effective bass correction system, the proximity subwoofer system, SonoruS Audio, which we've sold several of those. And then you've got the SonoruS ATR 10, the tape machine. So Arian is a very accomplished audio engineer, etc. Talking about the guts of the machine. So all the circuitry is your circuitry.
Yes, my intention here was I want to make a new tape machine. I want to make a new tape machine. So first, I'm not a mechanical engineer, plus there are already excellent mechanics out there. That was the Studer part. So I basically took the Studer parts, stripped out everything electronic, and said, okay, I'm going to redesign everything, because the mechanical parts are really only a part in my design. And that's what I did. So everything in there is completely designed up from the ground up, basically. And that was back in, actually when I was doing the design was in 2010. That's where ATR 10 comes from, basically. So I made that design, and that came out extremely well. And that was obviously at that time really given in by this tape revival.
The timing was amazing.
The tape project started with.
For sure.
I always had an interest in tape decks. But now there was all of a sudden a reason. I always kind of wanted to do new playback stuff on tape machines, but never really made sense. In 2000, that did not make sense. But when the tape project came out and the tapes became more interesting, then it was a good incentive to say, hey, I'm going to do that project.
Yeah, definitely. So the tape machine, and a lot of people don't know this, but this has a vacuum tubed output stage on it.
Yes.
So it's very kind of holographic and very kind of bloomy and very warm and natural sounding.
Yes, I've basically, I do design both solid state and vacuum tubes, but I found that I'm not so much a vacuum tube designer for really woolly, overly warm sound. What I like about tubes is that they can be completely absent of any type of colorations. You obviously do not have solid state coloration. With solid state, you always have a little bit of that solid state coloration left. So if you use tubes, you can actually get rid of all type of colorations. Becomes extremely transparent. So that's why a lot of the equipment I made for myself is based on that. I designed circuitry, unusual new circuitry with tubes, basically, so that you do not let any of the tube sound in, so that you become a very transparent. And I wanted to use that in the tape machine because.
And you use a lot of that circuitry in your recording and playback suite.
Yes.
The SonoruS playback suite is all designed by you. Is all some is tube based, some solid state based, and you have, I thought I counted, is it 28 or 29, 26 patents?
Yeah, basically
for power supply design.
I would say if you unique patents 21, and there are some follow up stuff that I think if you look at the database says 27 or something like that. But unique patents basically 21. That
I mean, come on, 21 patents from one individual is pretty amazing. You know?
Yeah, so but most of that is power electronics.
Power supplies, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, some of my patents, for instance, are in the original Microsoft Xbox, but also the little phone charger of Apple, the little 1 by 1 by 1 inch, basically.
Do you get any royalties on those?
The company that I worked for when I did it does. Damn it. Shoot. I got my $1.
Yes, exactly. Damn them.
Yeah, especially that one is.
Yeah. And so every iPhone out there, you're like. But hey, you know what? Welcome to capitalism.
Yeah, you know, that's the way it works. But it's also fun to know that it's being used.
The little piece of you inside every iPhone out there.
It's being used. It's not one of those many patents that are completely useless and nobody ever cares. So it's being used.
Okay, so circling back to the machine, let's talk about some of the common things about the machine that the viewers may want to know. For example, it will play a 7.5 inch per second and a 15 inch per second tape, correct?
Yes.
What about the different curves that are on there? There's two selectors. Right?
Yes, there is.
Actually, Colby, why don't you follow us over the machine and maybe Arian can just point out some of the things about the machine. Arian, let's take a walk over there. All right, here, let me just cross on over here. So
So yes, if you look at it, we have two speeds. We have 7.5 IPS and 15 inch per second, basically.
Yep.
In all reality, for new tapes, all around at 15 IPS, because 7.5 IPS, there is a degradation, and you do not want to go into tape if you do not go all the way, which in 15 IPS is the best speed. It's actually better than 30 IPS.
Oh, really?
So 30 IPS is being used a lot in the 50s and so, because the tapes were that bad. But for the tapes, modern tapes formula, 15 IPS, best speed you can get.
So what about the curves?
So the curves are NAB and IEC, which are basically, NAB is the American curve, originally in IEC the European one. There we also, pretty much all the new tapes are, whether it's my tapes or from other outlets, basically, are all recorded in IEC. Because the old American standards was more, they kind of compressed the bass. And that is an issue that gives you problems during recording. So IEC recording is much cleaner and it gives you more
linear sort of response.
more headroom as well, which again results in lower noise. So the noise floor gets...
That's the thing about the tape machine. People say, well, what's it sound like? I say, it's the craziest dynamic range you've ever heard. Upper frequencies are so extended and pure, and bass is absolute heart of the earth bass. Number two is there's no noise. That's what people can't believe. They're like, oh, we're listening to a tape. Where's the hiss? Where's the noise? No noise. And three, the coloration. To your point earlier about the vacuum tubes and the output stage and the EQ curves that you use, there's no coloration on the machine. It is unbelievable. What I tell people is it's high res analog. So think about the highest res digital with analog, smooth, dimensional presentation with the craziest stuff that happens in the sound field.
Yeah, if you actually look at the concept of tape in general, it's by far the shortest audio path from input basically to output. Because the amplifier, the number of amplifier stages you need on the recording side is really only 2 or 3. Then it's basically ready to be put on the tape, and the way out there's also basically 3 stages, and that's all. So from the whole area, that's the case. If you look at digital, there is a lot of stuff to get into the converter and everything, and to get out of the converter. And vinyl, well, we know we have a whole pressing plants and everything where we put mechanical stampers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that is not a very direct process. Tape is absolutely the shortest signal pass you can get of any medium. And that's why it's also so thankful to, if you make the electronics well, to really get everything as minimum, with the lowest level of coloration, so that you get really, really close to the music. And that is what people like.
Another thing about the machine is it comes with a remote control, so you can start and stop it wherever you want. And you put leaders between the tracks so that you can actually rewind it and fast forward it to the next track, and it will automatically stop on that track.
No, that's not really the case. It could be done. That could be done. Basically, what I do on my tapes is I have, at the beginning of the tape, I use in reflective.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
A reflective. You can see the white line here. That's a white leader tape, but it's reflective in the infrared range. And basically, the machine can see that tape coming by, and then it automatically stops there. So if you have
so that you don't have to reel it up every time. You can just stop it at the beginning of the tape and then play it back.
So all my holographic imaging tapes, again, that's not true for any other commercial tapes you have, but all my holographic imaging tapes, and you know it yourself, you put it on, press rewind, and you're going to do something else. And it
stops at the beginning of the tape, and it doesn't unwind itself and make a mess.
It stops there, and it's pretty much, if you press play in 10-15 seconds,
you're ready to go.
The album starts.
So one other thing, but people may know, Colby, once you come on up here, is you have a headphone output jack. built into the machine. So you have a little bit of a preamp in there that you can plug in headphones and listen to it as a as like a monitoring type of situation, which is amazing. Remind me again, you can buy the machine with a preamp section built in to drive amplifiers directly, or are all the machines?
Well, actually, on the Mark II, I do not have that option.
Okay.
I had it on the Mark
on Mark I. Yes,
I had that option.
Yes. Wasn't that popular though?
I sold a few of them.
Yeah.
But it was kind of an awkward thing.
Yeah.
Because the preamp section in there. Yeah. Would be solid state. Oh yeah. And it worked extremely well. Yeah. And the path was very short, so for people that really played only tape, it made sense. Sure. Because you can omit your entire preamp. Yeah. But for most people, this is not their primary source. Yeah. So this goes into
it's a source. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes into your preamp together with your other sources. Yeah. So it was not very popular. And when I did the Mark II, I felt there was not really a need to keep that going. Also, what I had on the Mark I as an option was the 2-track and 4-track playback. 4-track for old tapes and that kind of stuff. Those tapes that you buy on eBay sometimes for ridiculous amount, they sound like shit, really. I've always said to people that buy these machines, say, "Oh, I see all these tapes on eBay." Say, that is not why you buy the machine. You buy the machine for the new tapes. Yeah. If you happen to have an enormous collection or so of 7.5-inch tapes or so, by all means play them, but do not expect from that kind of tapes from the 70s that you can even get to something like this or so.
It's so true. I'll go to a customer's house. They'll hear this machine here at my store, right? They'll go on eBay or some used audio site. They'll buy a $300 or $400 Akai or something. Not to bash Akai, but Sony or one of them. Yeah. Right. Whoever made them in the 70s, 80s. Yeah. There's 100 of them out there. Pioneer, right? And I'll go to their house. I go, let's listen to my real machine, right? And I go, okay, let's fire it up. They play it, and it's to your point.
Yeah, it's very disappointing.
So they hear this, and then they try and make shift and buy stuff off eBay and what have you, and certainly it works, but it's by no means has the quality and the reproduction that this baby has.
If you want to have a tape deck just because you like to fiddle around with it and like the rotating reels and so, then you can, the entry level is very low. Sure. But if you really want to see what that medium is capable of, that is a very different story.
I mean, I tell people that this machine is used in professional recordings in studios, and it's absolutely correct. You use it. You just used it a few days ago.
Yeah, I used it
at Segerstrom. You guys recorded a record for Yarling, right?
Yeah, Yarling Records.
And you used one of which you recorded on the master here.
Yeah, I basically have of the same machine a recording version. Yeah. I do not really sell that commercially. Yeah. There are a few of them out there. Yeah.
It would be very expensive. It's a whole stack of components.
Yes, it has a second unit basically where all the recording electronics is in there. Yeah. So it's really, I made them to be able to do my holographic imaging tapes and some of the live recordings and that kind of stuff. So it's not really a commercial product. Yeah. That's what we use basically, and that has the same type of electronics, but on the recording side. So you have that very short, direct tube-based pass on the recording side there, and on the playback side in the machine you basically buy.
Yeah. One last thing. Let's talk about maintenance of the machine. Just cleaning and like how often should someone clean the machine and what do they use, and just kind of general parameters for maintaining the ATR-10.
Yes, it's actually a fairly easy job. There's not a lot of maintenance anywhere else than really, let's say, the heads and the
so this cover guides. This cover pops off.
That pops off. Yeah.
So Kobe, why don't you come on up here real quick? And Arian's going to give us a 1, 2, 3 on how, of course, you would take the tape off so that you don't have any tape on here.
Yeah, I mean, you would obviously take the tape off because you do not want to have any cleaning fluid on your tape.
Sure.
And then basically what you do is you use, I just recommend people use a Q-tip with 91% alcohol.
Yeah.
Don't use the 70% stuff. Yeah. And then you basically, let me just take the tape out for, you basically clean the head surface. This is the playback head. So you just gently clean that with the, and you will see if it's dirty. There's a little bit of the brown shit coming up, basically.
Yeah.
And
the roller right here.
The roller. I suggest not to clean it.
It will dry it out.
It will dry it out.
Yeah.
And if you really want to clean it, sometimes just use a little bit of dish soap, water on dish soap.
Yes.
Do not use alcohol.
Yes. And then maybe the leaders right here.
Yeah.
So just right in here.
Yeah. They are basically rotating.
Yes.
But
and then you have your guide right here.
Yeah, this one also. You can need to clean that a little bit. These tape lifters here, they tend to get dirty because they lift the tape.
Yeah, they're touching the tape and the entire time it's running.
Yeah, also when it's
so really
rewinding. So
a minute or two every couple, 6 months, whatever, just on a routine basis.
Yeah, I would say.
How many after? How many hours?
Every
20, 30?
Every 20 tapes or so. It depends if you use the holographic imaging tapes, and a lot of the new tapes you get from all the outlets that you have, they don't powder very much. If you use some older tapes, then you have to be careful. And
see, I don't really have the issue because I get all my tapes new from you.
Yeah.
So the machine, and you, whenever you stop in, you give me a tune-up. So I really don't maintain them that often, but for the viewers out there that own the machine or are considering it, how big of a process is it to maintain? And it's a couple minutes every quarter, let's say every 3 or 4 months, really.
Yeah, I would say to be on the safe side, do it every 10 or 20 tapes that you play. Yeah. It's literally indeed a 2-minute job.
How many vacuum tubes are in the back of this?
4 actually.
4. And how many hours of playing time will they run without needing to be replaced?
All the machines that I ship are using new old stock Philips tubes. So they were made in Holland basically in the 50s and 60s. Yeah. They basically last 20,000 hours.
Okay.
So in all reality, especially because a tape is probably not your primary source that you play for 10 hours a day, they don't need to be replaced.
Yeah. No, I've owned this for 10 years. You've checked it out several times and says perfectly specking fine, and it has the original tapes in it, or the original tubes. Yeah. So I mean, this one's 10 years old. We're still running on the original vacuum tube. So then just turn it off when you're not using it. I find the machine takes really about 30 minutes. 50 after about 5 or 10 minutes, it's stabilized. It sounds great, but really 30 minutes on is when it starts getting crazy.
Yeah, about 30, 40 minutes. Yeah. Then it really gets into its element.
Yes.
So I normally say people, if you start playing tape, switch it on an hour in advance.
Yes.
So it's really ready to go.
Yeah.
Same thing is actually, not that you hear that, but it's the capstan motor is running relatively fast. Yeah. That one, the bearings need to warm up. Oh. Doesn't mean that it doesn't play or when you switch it on a play tape. Yeah. But it's very much like your car. Yeah. Most of the wear on the engine is when the engine is cold. Same on the bearings of the machine. Oh. So after 10 minutes, it's fine. Yeah. It will always play, of course. Yeah. But again, most people will not play a tape within 10 minutes of switching on the machine. Yeah. But that's the only thing. It's true for any tape machine, not specifically this.
So lastly, not to kind of harp on the tapes, I probably have 30 of them here of all audiophile quality. The titles people want to hear: Pink Floyd, Steely Dan. I've got some Fleetwood Mac tapes. I've got some that I love. A Rush. You made me a Rush. Moving Pictures. You've made me this Haircut 100, which you got a good chuckle out of. However, the music's amazing. It turned out great.
Yeah, it's that's one of the things when you mentioned this haircut one first, I wouldn't be able to come up with it on my own if you held a gun to my head. But when you said a haircut 100, yeah, I remember that.
And you had it.
And I had it.
And you emailed me back and said it made amazing tape. Craziest thing. One of my old favorite bands, Simple Minds, New Gold Dream, amazing tape. Dang it, it's amazing. Nirvana Unplugged. I mean, again, I mentioned it earlier. I could have that. When I put Nirvana Unplugged on this machine, it stays on for 2 months. I just reel it back, rewind it, play it through, rewind it, play it back. It is amazing. Fleetwood Mac Live is great. Eagles Live. Live recordings are really great on the machine because you get that, all the inflections and
especially in the holographic imaging, you get the scope of the venue.
Yes.
So even though your speakers are over there, you're in the venue.
You certainly are.
And it has this very enormous dynamics that you can get this tape, so you really you feel it in your stomach basically. And
I'm gonna tell you one more quick story. One time at a trade show, it was a Sunday morning, and we had the machine there, and the show had just opened. It was 10:30 on a Sunday morning. It's usually kind of quiet at a trade show. They don't really start livening up till 11 or 12. Somebody was on social media texting on a chat group that we were playing Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon on tape. And then we had the record, which we were going to play it on tape first, and then we were going to play the record afterwards so people could hear it, just enjoy it, right? Just something different at a trade show. Somehow, way, shape, or form, the room filled up immediately. I didn't know how these people were finding out about it. So one guy comes running down the hall area and hears that bump, 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 the heartbeat going, right? And it's on this machine, it's just so visceral. Boom, boom, just the craziest, deepest bass. And the people are just sitting there, they don't know what to think, right? Because tape's amazing. Some guy comes running in the room. He's got cockroach killer shoes on, eats it, takes a spill coming into the room, comes crawling in, hops back up, takes a seat, and I'm like, what's this guy? He goes, I got a text message that you're playing, Pink Floyd on tape machine, and so here we probably had 30 or 40 people come within like 2 or 3 minutes to hear that. So
that's great,
it's so funny, man, so funny. Anyways. Thoroughly enjoyable. I love your machine, love your work. The tapes are amazing, and of course your friendship's amazing. You're a great friend of the business here, and I've enjoyed your friendship over the years.
Likewise, likewise.
You guys are in a real treat. Arians are very unique. I tell people, you can close your ears, I tell people he's the smartest person in the audio business that I know because he understands the signal, he creates the circuits, and he records the music. So he has an understanding from playing the music to reproducing the music and what it should sound like. And this machine reproduces that. It's my favorite component that we sell here. Seriously, it's amazing. So
let me say one more thing about the SHI tapes, which I think is important to understand, because people will obviously ask, well, how can you make a Pink Floyd tape?
Yeah.
So basically the process that I use starts off with an existing either high-res file, could be analog sometimes, but that's rare, high-res file, before it goes into the remastering process. If you order a tape, it's very necessary you can prove that you own a legal copy of the album you want to have, because you can basically have an analog copy of your own album.
Yeah, of course.
That's okay. Again, if you see the tapes here, there's no artwork on it, for instance. It's your analog. It's your analog copy of the album that you own.
That you've paid for.
Yeah, that
you own it.
You own a legal copy of your album, because I obviously cannot sell
somebody else's work.
So it's important that you own the copy. That you own an original CD, vinyl record, 8-track, whatever.
Yeah.
You own an original one.
And then you take that, you can take that and make one of your SHI tapes from that. As a matter of fact, today, you're in my store, you're taking, what, about 10 or 12 of my discs to go make tapes on. You've looked through my collection here and said, hey, these will make great tapes. You're going to take those and you're going to make tapes for me.
Yeah. And if they're not great, you're not going to get them.
Yeah. Well, I've come to expect that, and people know that. They know when we're playing tapes that they're amazing sounding. So, and I tell people I only buy your tapes. You know, so.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to say that there are not many other great tapes out there, but keep in mind always that it's just those tapes are closer to the original master.
Well, not only that, but
that can be an improvement.
Yeah.
But sometimes, if the original recording is not that great, then getting closer to the master doesn't help that much.
Well, for us, for me anyways, I know that you had the source, right? You mastered it on your electronics that you made. You recorded a lot of times on the machine that's playing it back. And for tape or analog, that's critical. And I believe that's one of the reasons why there's so low noise and low coloration is because it was all your equipment to begin with.
Yes.
So,
again, a lot of the low noise comes from the recording version of this machine.
Yeah.
Because I can basically drive tapes up to plus 16 dB, which is extremely high.
Yes.
And the full depth of the tape
saturation
is used, the mechanical depth of the, and that means that you can get a real signal to noise ratio of more than 80 dB, which is not as quiet as CD, but it is extremely quiet.
Especially for analog.
Yeah, for analog it's extremely quiet, and it's obviously 20-30 dBs quieter than vinyl is.
Yeah.
So it's really in practical sense. If you pay attention, you may hear the tape noise, but sometimes the tape noise you hear is actually from the original recording.
Yes.
Yeah, from the original album, not from the machine.
There's no. That I have found, pardon me. There's no noise in this machine that I've ever heard.
The machine itself. I mean, if you can actually you notice that if the white leader tape comes by, is that the noise really goes completely quiet because the electronics can go to about minus 110 or so.
Yeah.
So it's really digital quiet if it comes to the electronics, and the only noise you hear is in that case the taping comes up, and sometimes you will hear that the noise of the tape comes up and then it gets a little bit higher because the original album noise, like something like the Dark Side of the Moon, is not infinitely quiet.
So to your point, one of your recordings, there's a part where you can hear they've dubbed on the original, they've dubbed in someone's voice, so you can hear the music playing and then that person's voice dubbed in. You can actually hear it in. I chuckle just like that. Every time I listen to that recording, I'm like, what? I mean, the guy couldn't blend it better than that. I mean, you could hear it, but that's the ultra low noise floor.
Yeah, that's it. And if you have this kind of resolution, you sometimes, or actually quite often, hear stuff in albums, even though you have played the album already 50 times before, you hear things in there that you never saw were there.
Okay, so to your point, you chuckled when I said Haircut 100, which is one of my boy band kind of 80s favorite records, right? When I was growing up, the music was amazing. So I got the tape a few weeks ago, and I've been playing it, and you're absolutely correct. I've been listening to that record since 1982. It came out in 82. Yeah. So 41 years I've been listening to that record. I've probably listened to the record 500 times or more over the whatever. And I'm hearing things in the recording, it's the same exact recording, on the tape that I have not heard before. And of course, in spectacular panoramic soundstage, which is, for me, the fun part.
Yeah.
You know, we have drums playing, just is amazing, amazing sounding. But to your point, I hear details that I've not heard in 41 years. So you'll soon be getting the rest of my funky little collection, you know,
But yeah, I mean, it's one of the things on the Pink Floyd The Wall album.
Yeah,
is there are so many little things in there, and people that know it inside out. Yeah. They get the tapes, and it's a revelation to them. Yeah, it's amazing what kind of depth there is in the small thingies, and so that kind of got lost in the original release.
Yeah, definitely fun.
But again, the interesting thing for the holographic imaging is that information is in the original recording.
Yeah, you're not adding anything.
No, I'm not adding anything. That's the point. It was in the original recording, but since it's properly displayed with SHI, all of a sudden, you can hear it. It kind of stands apart. It doesn't get lost in all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah. Well, what I hear is the separation in the sound field, right? The layering. You hear all these layers of sound. You hear the decay of things. It's totally natural, and of course the dynamic range is what makes the tape fun. I mean, you hear just the craziest highs, and then if there's bass like the heartbeat on Dark Side of the Moon, that dun 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 dun. I mean, it literally shakes the room, you know. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Well, don't want to rattle on here too much longer. If anyone's interested in a SonoruS tape machine, you can contact us, Scott Walker Audio, and or this SHI SonoruS holographic imaging tapes. Right? They can contact us as well. Yeah. And we'll get you hooked up and get you tuned in. And as always, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Arian. Thanks for your time today. Yeah. Hey, Scott Walker Audio coming to you from our store here in Anaheim, California, connecting you to the moment.